Welcome to B-Mitzvah Bites, a new bite-sized podcast from PJ Library. Each episode, you'll hear real kids ask the hard-hitting questions about how to prepare for their B'nai Mitzvah. The best part? They'll receive answers and real-life examples from older kids who recently had a bar or bat mitzvah ceremony. You'll hear everything from who to invite, how far in advance you should start preparing, tips for memorizing your Torah portion, how to deal with nerves, book recommendations, and so much more. It's episode 4. How did the COVID-19 pandemic impact Ellery's bat mitzvah? What's it like to have your ceremony over Zoom? Let's dive in with Linus.
2 different questions. Was there a different impact of COVID, like on practicing, or not just people on Zoom? Was there a different impact? And what are some good things to include in your speech?
Okay, that is a really good question. I'm gonna start with the COVID part. I think that probably one thing was that if it had been an ordinary year, me and a bunch of the other kids that were in my B'nai Mitzvah class probably would have had time to practice together and learn things as a group, maybe read over each other's speeches. It would have probably felt like more of a community thing. I realize I'm contradicting myself because I just said that it felt like a huge community thing. But maybe it would have felt a little bit more like a group thing, that we were in this together. And instead it kind of felt like a little more like an endeavor that I was taking on by myself. I mean, that could have made the experience even more rewarding because I felt like I did it. Maybe it was a little bit more of a lonely preparation. Now I'm gonna respond to your speech question next. I think that's an amazing question because when I got started writing my Devar Torah, I pretty much had no idea. I think that it's a good idea to include a short summary of your portion, just for people who maybe don't really know what. I think it's also a good idea to include a little bit of what happened before your portion, just kind of as a setup. I think that the most important part of any speech or Devar Torah is to connect it to something in your life, not just a lesson that you've learned, not just something that you've taken away, but an actual experience and what it means to you. I connected the story, the part of I don't know if you know the part where Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream in Genesis. I connected that kind of to anxiety, repression. I think that I found it really helpful to be able to just write from the heart rather than write about a story that I had read. I think that's really what makes a Devar Torah is it's not just something that you're reading because you have to. It's something that feels it reminds you of life. It reminds you of something that's important to you. And it's also writing the thank you section can be really fun. It can almost feel kind of like coasting after the huge long part of writing what the Torah portion means to you, and it can just kind of feel like looking back at all the people that have helped you and being hey, yeah, that was pretty great. Yeah, I am pretty grateful for that. It can just kind of be a bit of a spirit lifter to remind you that you have people to thank. I thanked my cat at the end, and that was really funny. But yeah, I'm just gonna say that I think the most important thing to include in your speech is something personal. It doesn't have to be crazy personal if you don't feel comfortable sharing anything really intense, but just something that is deep in your soul that you think people will appreciate. Yeah, I think that that's really important.
Thank you so much for hanging out and listening today. And a special thank you to our PJ Arway design team and alumni for being on our panel and chatting. Our music is Enjoy Life with Your Family by Awesome Music. This podcast is produced and mixed by Allie Thresher with production support from Emily Brown, Rachel Goodman, and Elizabeth Korlitz. Barb Bastian created our art. This is a PJ Library Presents production. For more PJ Library podcasts and to sign up for free Jewish books, visit pjlibrary.org.